Have you ever stood up from a chair and felt like your legs just weren't listening to us anymore? Each step becomes slower. Standing for too long makes your legs shake. Climbing stairs, once as simple as breathing, now requires you to stop midway to gather momentum. Many people think it's probably just age. You're supposed to get weaker when you're old, right? But strangely, at the same age, some people still climb stairs every day, while others have to cling to the handrail with every step. So what's the real reason? The answer isn't a sudden event, but often comes from small, subtle changes, factors we encounter every day, but hardly anyone pays attention to. And what's even more concerning, it doesn't happen all at once. Every week, every month, your legs get a little weaker, slowly and quietly, until you realize you've lost the strength you once had. Even more frightening, many causes don't cause pain, no inflammation, no injury, they just make you not feel like yourself anymore. And then one day, just a slight stumble is enough to keep you down for a month. The good news is, most of these causes can be detected early and reversed, if you know how. The bad news is, if ignored, there will be irreversible changes. Because once the muscle and nervous systems degenerate over a long period, the ability to recover will diminish. So, in today's video, you'll be guided through 10 causes of leg weakness after age 50, ranked in increasing order of severity. From habits that can be improved in just a few weeks to conditions that require specialized medical cooperation to prevent complications. For each cause, you'll learn what is the mechanism happening in the body, what scientific evidence confirms this, and especially what can you do, starting today, to reverse this process. By the end of the video, you'll have a 3-tier map. Stay tuned until the end, not just for your own legs, but for your loved ones who are starting to slow down on their own journey. Are you ready? Let's start with the first thing, and also the easiest to improve, yet it's often the most underestimated. Reason number 1, sedentary lifestyle. You might be surprised, but the first reason your legs weaken doesn't come from age, illness, or genetics, but from the familiar chair in your house. Not sitting to rest, but sitting for too long, too often, too comfortably. Every day, the average person over 50 in the US sits for 8 to 10 hours, watching TV, scrolling on their phone, having dinner, then continuing to sit, waiting for bedtime. It sounds harmless, but imagine this. Muscles, especially the thigh and glute muscles, are like power generators. They only work when you flip the switch with movement. But when you sit still, the switch is off, the wires are cut, the energy flow stops, and with every passing minute, blood flow to the muscles decreases, and fast-twitch muscle fibers, type 2, the kind that helps you stand up, maintain balance, are forgotten by the brain. Scientifically, this is called loss of mTOR and IGF-1 activation, two important signals that help maintain and build muscle. The more you sit, the less your muscles are assigned tasks. And employees who aren't given work will sooner or later be laid off. A meta-analysis of 18 large studies on PubMed and PMC showed that even if older adults engage in light daily activity, like walking, if they sit for too long, they still have a significantly higher risk of sarcopenia, which is muscle mass decline. And importantly, this risk is independent of age. In other words, it's not that muscles are weak just because you're old. Rather, the longer you sit, the more your muscles are forgotten and gradually weaken, regardless of your age. So how do you reverse it? No heavy training needed, no gym required, just one small change. Stand up for at least 2 to 3 minutes every 30 minutes of sitting. Go get water, stretch, walk around the house, just break up continuous sitting. In addition, make sure you have at least 150 minutes of brisk walking per week and 2 sessions of light resistance training, like standing up and sitting down from a chair, stepping onto a low platform, or standing on one leg. If you start today, in just 2 weeks, you'll notice a difference. Less leg fatigue when standing for long periods, less awkwardness when turning around, and most importantly, your legs will remember how to work. No need to run, just don't let your muscles stay asleep. If the first reason your legs gradually weaken is because they're not being used, the second reason comes from a silent, but extremely common, deficiency. Reason number 2, vitamin D deficiency. And here's something few people know. Vitamin D is not just related to strong bones or calcium absorption. It's also a crucial link in muscle function, especially in the hips, thighs, and legs, the areas responsible for helping you stand up, maintain balance, and climb stairs. The human body has a type of molecular switch called VDR, vitamin D receptor, located on the surface of muscle fibers. This switch needs to be activated by an active form of vitamin D called 1,25-OH2D calcitriol to start producing muscle proteins. When the switch isn't turned on, muscles can't rebuild and can even gradually weaken, especially in muscle groups close to the torso like the glutes and thighs. This is known in medicine as proximal myopathy, meaning muscles close to the body weaken significantly due to vitamin D deficiency. And here's a startling figure. 2 large studies in Europe and the United States, on PMC and PubMed, found that over 60% of people over 60 have blood vitamin D levels below optimal, 30 nmol/cell. And in this group, the risk of falls significantly increases, especially when climbing stairs, turning around, or standing up from a chair. One thing to understand clearly, you can eat a full and healthy diet and still be at risk of vitamin D deficiency if you don't get regular sun exposure, or if your liver and kidneys' ability to convert vitamin D declines with age. So what's the way to check and fix this? The first step is a blood test, specifically for 25-hydroxyvitamin D, abbreviated as 25-OHD. If this level is below 30 ng/ml, it means you have a deficiency or mild deficiency. If it's 20 ng/ml, the situation is severe, requiring intervention. Recommendations for people over 50 are supplement with 1,000-2,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily, ideally taken with a meal containing healthy fats like salmon, avocado, eggs, or walnuts to increase absorption. Get early morning sun exposure before 9 a.m. for about 10 to 15 minutes, at least 3 times a week, with your arms and face not completely covered. In cases of severe deficiency, your doctor might prescribe a high-loading dose, 50,000 IU week for 8 weeks. Don't forget, if you've been exercising regularly but your muscles aren't getting stronger, check your vitamin D levels. Because if you're deficient, no matter how well you exercise, your muscles won't have enough raw material to recover and grow. Imagine it this way. Exercise is the engine, but vitamin D is the ignition key. Without it, your body will just keep revving in place. And after understanding the role of vitamin D, let's move on to reason number 3. Common medications that silently weaken leg muscles, especially statins and corticosteroids. This is often an overlooked yet extremely important cause. It's ironic. There are medications prescribed to protect your heart, control blood pressure, and prevent strokes. Yet, in some cases, these very pills become the silent gnaws that weaken your legs. If you've ever felt unusually tired in your arm and leg muscles, noticed weakness despite eating enough, or experienced unusual pain every time you climb stairs, pay attention. Are you taking statin medications for high cholesterol or corticosteroids for inflammation? Statins, a common class of drugs for high cholesterol, are found in millions of prescriptions each year in the US. But not everyone knows. Statins can cause a condition called drug-induced myopathy, or drug-related muscle weakness. This is not uncommon. An analysis published in the BMJ showed up to 1.5 million cases of statin-related muscle pain and weakness annually, especially common in people over 65, or those combining statins with fibrate drugs like gemfibrozil. So what happens in the muscles? The mechanism is subtle. Statins reduce the synthesis of coenzyme Q10, a small molecule absolutely essential for energy production in muscle cells. When Q10 is deficient, muscle cells are like power plants with a power cut, not enough fuel to contract efficiently. Additionally, statins can disrupt calcium metabolism in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, causing abnormal muscle contractions, leading to pain, heavy legs, and sometimes muscle stiffness. Meanwhile, corticosteroids, commonly used to reduce inflammation in asthma, arthritis, lupus, etc., can also cause muscle weakness if used long-term. These drugs directly affect the genes of muscle cells, reducing muscle protein synthesis, causing fast-twitch muscle fibers, type 2, to atrophy over time. And these are the very fibers we need to jump up from a chair, quickly step onto a curb, or maintain balance when slightly tripping. More dangerously, the initial symptoms are often mistaken for old age. Patients don't realize that they could reduce or change their medication, so they continue to suffer in silence, allowing the strength of their legs to decline unchecked. If you're taking cholesterol-lowering medication or long-term anti-inflammatory drugs, ask yourself, am I feeling heavier in my legs, walking weaker, even though I'm as active as before? If the answer is yes, it's time to talk to your doctor. Measure your CK levels in the blood, a muscle enzyme marker, or simply describe your pain and fatigue more clearly during your next visit. You might be able to reduce your statin dose, switch to a statin with fewer side effects, like pravastatin or rosuvastatin, or temporarily stop under your doctor's supervision. Additionally, proactively maintain light resistance exercises such as sit-to-stands, calf raises, or water walking to preserve remaining muscle mass and prevent drug-induced muscle loss from progressing further. Why is this important? Because if you don't intervene early, you won't just get weaker, but you'll also lose the ability to react quickly when needed. For example, when falling, stumbling on a step, or suddenly turning around. Have you ever known someone who experienced muscle weakness due to medication? Or are you taking statins or corticosteroids and feel your legs are no longer as nimble as they once were? Share in the comments section, because what you say might help someone else recognize something similar. Now, let's continue to the fourth reason. An invisible enemy, living right inside your body that few people suspect. Intramuscular fat, when obesity and muscle weakness silently conspire to harm your legs. Reason number 4, sarcopenic obesity. Have you ever felt your legs heavier after age 50? Each step becomes more sluggish. Climbing stairs takes more effort, even without gaining dozens of pounds. Perhaps the problem isn't just about weight, but how excess fat infiltrates your muscles. This is a phenomenon called sarcopenic obesity, or obesity with muscle loss, a very common condition but rarely correctly identified. In typical obesity, fat mainly accumulates under the skin or around the abdomen, but in sarcopenic obesity, fat infiltrates directly into each muscle bundle, disrupting the function of muscle fibers and destroying the very structure your body needs for balance, powerful walking, and recovery after each activity. The damaging mechanism of intramuscular fat is incredibly subtle. These fat cells secrete inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6, increasing insulin resistance in muscle tissue. When insulin no longer functions well, muscle cells cannot absorb enough energy, reduce protein synthesis, and gradually lose mass, like a factory that's simultaneously short on raw materials and electricity. The result? You're not just weaker, but you also recover poorly after each walk, exercise session, or simply standing in one place for a long time. A long-term study called the INCIANTI study, which followed older adults in Italy for 6 years, made a remarkable finding. Those who were both overweight and had low muscle mass were the group with the fastest decline in walking speed and also had the highest risk of fractures, falls, and dependence. What's the danger here? It's that many people think simply losing weight is enough, without realizing that losing it the wrong way, only losing fat but also losing muscle, is even worse. Excessive fasting, or a diet lacking protein and resistance training, will cause valuable muscle mass to evaporate even faster than fat. So what's the right solution? First, aim to lose 5 to 10% of your body weight if you are overweight, but don't rush to lose weight too quickly. Gradual weight loss, prioritizing muscle preservation, that's the golden goal for fat loss. Second, Switch to a Mediterranean diet, meaning eating plenty of green vegetables, fish, beans, olive oil, and especially high-quality protein, around 1.2 kg of body weight daily. Third, incorporate appropriate exercise, at least 200 minutes per week of moderate-paced walking where you're slightly breathless but can still talk, plus 2 to 3 full-body resistance training sessions like squats, leg presses, or light hand weights. And if you're thinking, I'm old, how can I exercise? Remember, no one is asking you to train like an athlete. Just exercise within your capacity regularly, and your legs will gradually regain their lost strength, and intramuscular fat will no longer have a chance to camp out there. Have you ever tried to lose weight but found your legs still weak? Are you eating too little and not getting enough protein? Please share in the comments section, because your real-life experience might help others avoid common mistakes. Next, we'll move on to reason number 5, a very common but often overlooked cause, osteoarthritis, when knee and hip pain makes you afraid to walk, and that very fear gradually weakens your legs day by day. Have you ever hesitated to stand up from a chair because of sharp knee pain? Have you ever skipped a walk just because you feared the pain spreading to your hip after a few steps? If so, pay close attention, because those joint pains could be the reason your legs are weakening day by day. Osteoarthritis, especially in the knees and hips, is not just a cartilage problem, but also a source of muscle atrophy around the joint due to improper use. The mechanism is very simple but often overlooked. When a joint hurts, the body reflexively stops using the painful area. This is called arthrogenic muscle inhibition, and it happens automatically. For example, when the knee joint hurts, the quadriceps muscle, the main muscle group that helps you stand up, walk, and maintain balance, will be inhibited from functioning, even if it is still strong. As a result, you use your leg less, and over time, the muscles begin to atrophy like a forgotten machine. And as muscles weaken, the joint loses its natural protective cushioning system. At this point, the joint cartilage has to bear the full impact force, making the osteoarthritis progressively worse. A vicious cycle begins. Pain causes weakness. Weakness causes more pain. Evidence for this vicious cycle was confirmed in a systematic review published in 2022. People with knee osteoarthritis had significantly lower knee extensor muscle strength compared to pain-free individuals, and the degree of muscle weakness correlated directly with the level of pain and impaired motor function. Does this sound familiar to you? Many older adults still think, if my joints hurt, I need to rest. But the more accurate truth is, if your joints hurt, you need to exercise correctly. If you don't move, your cartilage will be deprived of nutrients because cartilage has no blood supply. It feeds on joint fluid that is pumped and squeezed when you move. If you don't move, you'll lose muscle and your joints will become even weaker. So, you can help yourself reverse this with a few simple, scientifically proven strategies. Lose weight if your BMI is 25. One study showed that every 1 kilo of weight lost reduces up to 4 kilos of pressure on the knee with each step. Perform closed-chain resistance exercises, meaning exercises like shallow squats, leg presses, or leg presses with a resistance band, to increase strength in the muscles around your knees and hips without creating harmful twisting forces on the joints. Walk in water if you have access to a physical therapy pool. The aquatic environment reduces gravity, lessening pressure on the joints, while still keeping your muscles active. If pain persists, use NSAIDs short-term under supervision, or consider joint lubricant injections, HA, or platelet-rich plasma, PRP, especially for those who have tried exercise but still experience pain. And finally, but no less importantly, don't let pain dictate your entire life. Every time you hesitate because your knee hurts, try asking yourself, have I done enough to maintain my leg strength? Is there 5 minutes today for a simple sit-to-stand exercise? Your legs don't need miracles. They just need you to do what's right, consistently, and gently enough not to give up. Next, we will explore reason number 6, a cause that is unavoidable over time, but can be completely slowed down if you know how. Sarcopenia, Age-related muscle loss. This is the silent root cause of weak legs, instability, and easy falls, and you need to understand it thoroughly to prevent it in time. Have you ever noticed that you still eat the same, still walk every day, yet your legs are getting weaker? Then one morning you get out of bed slower, your steps aren't as steady as before. That's not just getting old, as people often say. Rather, you might be gradually falling into a scientific condition called sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss. The problem here is not just muscle atrophy, but a simultaneous decline in both the mass, strength, and functional efficiency of muscle fibers, especially type 2 muscle fibers, the type responsible for explosive power, balance, and quick reflexes. After the age of 50, your body begins to undergo a series of very subtle physiological changes. Decreased production of hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, GH, which are signals that stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Reduced protein hygiene, meaning your body processes and uses protein from food less efficiently than when you were 30. Increased background inflammatory factors like IL-6, TNF-A, what scientists call inflammaging, inflammation due to aging, causing long-term damage to muscle fibers. The result? Each year, you can lose 1 to 2% of your muscle mass, and this number can reach 30 to 50% after 20 to 30 years if there's no clear intervention strategy. A series of longitudinal studies over 20 years in Europe and the US have recorded the group of people over 60 who did not regularly engage in resistance training experienced an average 35% decline in grip strength. The cross-sectional area of large muscles, like thigh muscles, also decreased by over 30%, leading to a significant reduction in the ability to walk, climb stairs, and brace the body during a fall. And what's even more frightening is sarcopenia can occur even if you don't have any chronic illnesses. Age alone is enough to make you prone to muscle loss, weak legs, and loss of independence. You might be asking, so how do I prevent it? I'll share some proactive solutions to slow down sarcopenia. 1. Engage in resistance training at least 2 to 3 times per week. No need for a gym if you don't like it. A set of resistance bands, a few squats, sit to stands, simple hand weights, all can be effective. The important thing is, you need to train heavy enough for your body to respond. Aim for an effort level of about 7 to 8 on a scale of 10, meaning it's a bit challenging but still controllable. 2. Eat enough protein and eat it at the right time. Studies show that eating 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal will optimally activate muscle synthesis. Protein from eggs, lean meat, fatty fish, or Greek yogurt are excellent choices. Distribute your protein intake throughout the day, rather than concentrating it all in one meal. Because after 60, the body no longer has the ability to store protein for later use as it once did. 3. Monitor albumin and creatinine periodically. If these indicators are low, it could be an early sign of lean mass loss and impaired body function. Consulting a doctor for early supplementation is an important preventive measure. By now, you've probably understood why age alone is enough to threaten your legs, but if you act early, you can completely reverse the script. And to further reinforce this picture, let's move on to reason number 7, where neurological factors and foot sensation become the main reasons why older adults walk slowly, are prone to falls, and lose independence. A silent consequence of vitamin B12 deficiency or diabetes complications. Imagine one day you step out of bed and feel your legs stiff as wood. No pain, no obvious weakness. But each step becomes unsteady. It's as if someone has erased the guiding lines inside your body, the lines that help you know where your feet are, how they are moving. That is one of the typical manifestations of peripheral neuropathy, especially the form of loss of deep sensation, proprioception, a sophisticated system that allows you to maintain balance without looking at your feet. In people over 60, this condition often stems from 2 common causes: chronic vitamin B12 deficiency due to insufficient intake or medications like metformin, long-term diabetes complications causing damage to peripheral nerves due to high glucose. This isn't weakness due to muscle loss, it's weakness due to loss of control, a disconnectedness between the brain and legs. When the myelin sheath protecting the nerve is damaged, information about the foot's position is not accurately sent to the brain. The result is, you walk as if fumbling in the dark, even in broad daylight. Posture changes, shorter steps, wider stance to maintain balance. The ability to react when slipping or stumbling is significantly reduced, leading to a twofold increase in the risk of falls. In the long run, this condition makes patients reluctant to move, fearful of losing balance, which in turn further weakens leg muscles. A systematic review of 32 studies showed that vitamin B12 deficiency is associated with a 51% increased risk of peripheral neuropathy. In people taking metformin long-term, a common drug for type 2 diabetes, the risk of B12 deficiency significantly increases. When blood B12 levels drop below 200 pg/ml, deep sensory nerves are the first to be affected, leading to a loss of body orientation. Not only that, in people with type 2 diabetes, chronic hyperglycemia also damages the capillary endothelium that nourishes the nerves, causing both motor and sensory function in the feet to decline. And once you can't clearly feel your feet, your body can't adjust movements at the right time, leading to unsafe steps. So what can be done to regain the connection between the brain and feet? First, periodically check B12 levels, especially if you take metformin. You should check B12 at least every 6-12 months if you are on long-term metformin or a vegan diet. If deficient, supplement with 500 to 1000 mcg day in the form of methylcobalamin or cyanocobalamin. In cases of poor absorption, your doctor might prescribe B12 injections, 1 mg monthly. Second, control blood sugar to a safe range. Aim for an HbA1c, 7%, or as specifically directed by your doctor. Limit nerve complications as early as possible, because once nerves lose function, the ability to recover is very low. Third, train proprioception through balance exercises, stand on one leg, practice on uneven surfaces, or use a Bosu ball or rubber mat. Studies show that after just 8 weeks of balance exercises, the ability to sense and control steps significantly improves. If muscle loss can be seen with the eye, then loss of foot sensation is a hidden culprit. But the consequences can be very clear: an unstable gait, unexpected falls, and a diminished confidence in one's own feet. Right after this, we'll move on to reason number 8, a culprit that seems unrelated to muscles, but silently blocks the oxygen supply to the legs, making every step a painful journey: peripheral artery disease, PAD. If you've ever felt your calves tighten, cramping pain when walking a few hundred steps, then the pain disappears when you stop to rest, it's very likely not a muscle problem, but due to blocked blood vessels. That condition is called peripheral artery disease, PAD, one of the most silent yet dangerous causes of leg muscle weakness in older adults. In PAD, the arteries supplying blood to the legs, especially the femoral and popliteal arteries, become atherosclerotic, preventing enough blood from reaching the muscles during activity. Muscles cannot function without blood bringing oxygen and nutrients. When blood vessels are narrowed due to atherosclerotic plaques, blood flow to the calves is severely reduced during exertion. The consequences are muscles lack oxygen, entering a state of localized ischemia, produces a lot of lactic acid, causing sharp pain, a feeling of heavy legs, and tightness. The patient has to stop midway when walking, called intermittent claudication. Walking a short distance causes pain, resting alleviates it, continuing to walk brings pain again. In the long run, if not treated properly, muscles gradually atrophy due to infrequent use. Many people stop exercising, afraid to walk because they fear pain, creating a pathological cycle: less activity, poorer blood circulation, weaker muscles. A gait analysis study of PAD patients showed that, even before clear symptoms appeared, the power generation at the knee and ankle joints was significantly reduced compared to healthy individuals. After 6 months of participating in an intermittent walking program, these indicators significantly improved, even without any vascular intervention. Additionally, an ABI, ankle brachial index, measuring the blood pressure difference between the ankle and arm, Below 0.9 is a sign of underlying PAD. PAD not only weakens muscles but also signals an increased risk of myocardial infarction, heart attack, and stroke, because the vascular system in the legs is where damage is most likely to occur as the entire body gradually undergoes atherosclerosis. So what's the solution to keep blood flowing to the legs? The answer is a combination of medical care and new habits. 1. Reactivate the vascular system through an intermittent walking program. The most effective exercise is walk until you feel moderate pain, rest, then continue walking. Perform this for at least 30 minutes per session, 3 times per week, to help create collateral circulation to nourish the legs. 2. Control the biggest risk factors. Quit smoking immediately. This is the fastest accelerating factor for PAD. Use statins and aspirin under a doctor's guidance to control blood lipids and vascular inflammation. Strictly manage blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and blood sugar, the 3 pillars for maintaining stable blood vessels. 3. Medical intervention when PAD is advanced. If ABI 0.4 or there is pain at rest, the doctor may recommend angiography and stent placement or bypass surgery. However, rehabilitation for motor function is always a parallel priority with medical treatment to prevent muscle loss over time. If you've ever dismissed mild calf pain as lack of exercise or age, think again. It might be your legs crying for help because they're not getting enough blood to nourish them. Right after this, we'll move on to reason 9. A culprit often only discovered when it's too late. Osteoporosis and fragility fractures, where a small fall can collapse an older person's already fragile ability to walk. Many people think that osteoporosis is just a bone problem. Weak bones break, that's it. But in clinical practice, a hip fracture after age 60 isn't just about a bone cracking. It can lead to a cascade of muscle loss, functional decline, and loss of independence. Specifically, hip or spinal fractures due to osteoporosis, known as fragility fractures, are among the most rapid and difficult to recover causes of leg strength collapse. When an older person suffers an osteoporotic hip fracture, what happens? They can't walk for at least 2 to 4 weeks, remaining completely or partially immobilized. During this time, leg muscles lose mass very quickly. Research shows a loss of 1 kilo of muscle in just 10 days of bed rest. Thigh and glute muscles, the large muscle groups essential for standing up and maintaining balance, are most severely affected. Not only that, after a hip fracture, patients fear falling again, further limiting movement. A vicious cycle of muscle loss, loss of balance, and loss of confidence clearly forms. According to analyses by WHO and Verywell Health, over 50% of people with hip fractures cannot walk independently after 1 year, even after treatment and rehabilitation. The risk of death in the first year after a hip fracture is as high as 20–30%, mainly due to complications from prolonged immobilization, pneumonia, embolism, ulcers. The condition of immobility-induced sarcopenia, muscle loss due to inactivity, affects not only the legs but also the immune system, metabolism, and recovery ability. A long-term follow-up study showed that people with a history of osteoporotic fractures are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience refractures if they don't receive thorough treatment. What can be done to avoid this tragedy? Solutions exist, but require action before it's too late. To protect strong bones after age 60, especially for postmenopausal women, checking bone density with a DXA scan every 2 years is crucial. If the T-score is lower than 1.5, it means bone density has started to decline and early intervention is needed. Alongside that, the body needs to receive sufficient nutrients for bones daily. Specifically, the recommendation is 1–200 mg of calcium and 1,000 IU of vitamin D, which can be obtained from foods like milk, sardines, kale, mushrooms, or supplements as directed by your doctor. In cases where the T-score is PASH 2.5, or if there's a history of osteoporotic fractures, your doctor may prescribe medication. Common groups include bisphosphonates like alendronate, risedronate, that slow bone loss, denosumab, which works through an immune mechanism, and some bone-building drugs like teriparatide for severe cases. If a fracture unfortunately occurs, the recovery process needs to start as early as possible when your doctor permits. Exercises like sit-to-stands from a chair, walking with a walker, or light resistance around the hips and knees will help maintain strength and limit muscle atrophy from prolonged immobility. Finally, fall prevention at home is the first line of defense. Simply removing clutter, installing handrails, ensuring adequate lighting, and using non-slip flooring. These small changes can help avoid dangerous falls, especially for older adults with weakening bones. If osteoporosis is not controlled, a small slip can steal independence for the rest of your life. But if you check and treat it early, you not only protect your bones, but also protect your leg muscle strength, your ability to stand up, and your control over your life. And now let's move on to reason number 10, the most severe threat to leg function, post-stroke sequelae, where one leg is no longer a pair of legs, but becomes a burden that causes the entire body to lean. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering you can't control your right leg, or you stand up from a chair, but one leg just drags, trembling as if it won't listen. For millions of Americans over 60 who have suffered a stroke, this isn't imagination, but a harsh daily reality. Stroke doesn't just affect the brain, it also leaves severe long-term consequences on leg function, gait, and mobility. When a stroke occurs, the brain region controlling movement is damaged, especially the corticospinal tract, the main pathway that transmits commands from the brain to the muscles. The result? One leg becomes weak or completely paralyzed, usually on the opposite side of the brain injury. Muscles lose control signals, leading to spasticity, tendon contractures, or loss of balance reflexes. The patient cannot maintain proper center of gravity, is prone to falls, and has to relearn how to walk from scratch. A 2018 systematic review on Science Direct showed that 60–80% of elderly stroke patients still have motor dysfunction, leg muscle weakness, and reduced walking speed after 3 to 6 months, despite inpatient treatment and rehabilitation. Factors such as hemiplegia, cerebellar damage, or recurrent stroke further worsen leg weakness. If not intervened early, many patients never regain independent walking and require canes, walkers, or lifelong caregivers. The danger is that stroke leaves uneven leg weakness. One leg is strong, one leg is weak, causing the body to lean, and the hip and knee joints on the strong side are prone to overuse. In the long run, both legs are affected. So, what should you do if your legs weaken after a stroke? The answer lies in 3 golden words: early, correct, consistent rehabilitation. The sooner you start, the more opportunities you have to regain function. Intensive physical therapy should begin in the first week after a stroke. Methods like functional electrical stimulation, FES, help paralyzed muscle groups reactivate, while gait assistance devices like robotic treadmills help the brain gradually relearn its old job. Controlling steps. Don't underestimate small exercises. Just standing on one leg, gently shifting your weight, or marching in place is enough to stimulate the brain and muscles to work together. The goal is not only to rehabilitate the weaker leg, but also to protect the stronger leg from overuse and degeneration. Concurrently, it's crucial to tightly control underlying conditions to prevent recurrent stroke, keep blood pressure, blood sugar, and blood lipids within safe limits. Also stop smoking, eat a low-sodium diet, and maintain a healthy weight. Don't forget that after a period of immobility, bones will weaken rapidly. Supplementing with enough vitamin D and calcium and performing light resistance exercises can help prevent fractures in case of falls. Your home also needs to be adjusted for safety, such as installing handrails, removing slippery rugs, and ensuring adequate lighting. And finally, move every day within your ability, whether it's taking a few steps around the house, sitting up and standing from a chair, or just 10 minutes of exercise at a time. With the support of a rehabilitation specialist, complete mobility can return, step by step, even if slowly, but full of hope. We've covered the journey through 10 silent causes of weakening legs after age 50. From easily changeable factors like too much sitting or lack of sunlight, to more serious conditions like neuropathy, degeneration, or stroke sequelae, each cause is a silent link in the chain of declining body strength. And when these links combine, the legs are no longer as agile as they once were. But the good news is, most of these causes are not fate, but consequences, and consequences can be prevented, slowed down, even reversed, if you know when to act. The first step doesn't have to be monumental. It could just be standing up during a TV show, or adding an egg, a bowl of protein-rich yogurt to your breakfast, or simply talking to your doctor when you feel your calves are constantly tired or your feet seem to disappear. Each person will have a different starting point, but the important thing is, you have to start. Your legs are freedom, and freedom should not be lost due to silent, subtle things happening every day. After 50, strength isn't about age, but about how we choose to live. Choose to stand up instead of staying seated. Choose early morning sunlight instead of the shadow of habit. Choose to get checked, rehabilitate, change, instead of waiting for your legs to weaken before acting. If something in this video resonated with you, start there. And if you've ever overcome one of these 10 reasons, share your story below. Someone out there needs to know that recovery is real, and your legs can be strong again.